Welcome back to part 5 of this tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to add a basic scoring system to your game that tracks how long the player survives and displays their score on the screen using Unity's UI Toolkit system. To begin calculating a score, you first need to measure how long the player has been alive. Unity provides a helpful built-in value called time.deltaTime, which returns the time in seconds since the last frame. By adding this value, we're going to run a total each frame so we can keep track on how long the player survived. So in this step, we're going to implement a timer inside the player controller script. So bear with me, we're going to do this slow time. Again, I still get stuck on coding. You're still going to get stuck on coding. It's going to feel so overwhelming at first, and it's going to take a long time for you to get used to it, unless you are a programmer. So the first thing we're going to do in our game is we're going to open up where the scripts are, and we're going to open up the player controller. Now, rather than telling you to copy and paste or to pause and write out what I'd written previously, I will try and do each step at a time along with you. Hopefully that'll make it a bit easier to understand than me just reading out from the screen or the script. So near the top of the class, where the rest of our variables are, we're going to add a new line of code. I'm going to write private float. And then we're going to say elapsed time. Remember, time with a capital T. And you can see it's already telling us equals 0 frames. Okay, and then inside the update method, so we've got this void start and void update. So inside the void method, we're going to add a following line of code at the top. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the curly brace of that. I'm just going to add a bit more space for me. And then here, I'm going to write the elapsed time. So you can see that is linking to here, to the variable at the top. We're going to say plus equals time.deltaTime. So the plus equals is shorthand for add to this variable. The elapsed time plus equals time.deltaTime is the same as writing the elapsed time equals elapsed time plus time.deltaTime. So time.deltaTime is the time in seconds since the last frame. If you add that small number every frame, it adds up over time. Clearly, the result is a running total of how much time has passed since the game started. This works no matter what the frame rate is. So just so we can see what this looks like, below the line that we've just added, we're going to add a new line, and we'll remove this later on, but just to show you can see it working, we're going to write debug.log brackets. We're going to write elapsed time. You can see there it's already working it out. Oops. Plus elapsed time. I'll close this one off. Okay, let me update my spelling mistake there. Elapsed time. So you can see how these three are linked. What this will do when we run the game, in the debug log, which you'll see on the bottom left of Unity, it will run the time for us, so you can physically see what we're asking it to do. So I'm going to click save. I'm going to go back into Unity. And if this worked, in the bottom left of your screen down here, you might not see it because my head's in the way. Let me see if I can move my head. So where my head was in the bottom left, when we click play, hopefully, that didn't last very long because it got killed straight away. But what you will see is that debug log. We'll pull it up here, so it says the elapsed time was, 1.13 blah 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 seconds. So you can see what we're telling us to do is working. I'm going to click stop. So now that you're tracking how long the player has survived, it's time to turn that into a score. Now, it wouldn't be very interesting if the score just went up by 1 every second. So in this step, we're going to create 2 new variables, one to hold the final score and one to define a score multiplier. Then you'll display that score using the same debug.log again, so you can visually see what that looks like. So we'll go back into the player control script, add the following lines of code near the other variables. So we're going to add private float, and we're going to write score, so that's what's going to show up, equals 0 frames, and then we're going to have a public float score multiplier we'll leave that as equals 10. So you might want the score multiplier to be public if you want to adjust it. So remember, if something's a public float, then we can physically see that in the script in Unity. So we can change this 10f to whatever multiplier that we want to without coming back into the code. So now we've updated the variables, we need to calculate the score in the update column. Just below where we update the elapsed time, add a new level of code. So here, I'm going to write score equals, and you can see again it's automatically seen what it wants us to do. So it equals the elapsed time times the score multiplier. And then we're going to replace the existing debug log with a new code. So if we just highlight this bit in between the brackets, and we are going to say the score plus the variable. So what this is saying, so the debug log is what's going to show us in Unity. So it's saying that this update, this score, plus the public float, or the private float, sorry, at the top there. I'm going to click save. We'll go back into Unity. I'll hide my face again and then click play. And you can see down there the score is going up and up and up. So rather than going up by 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going up in tens, 10, 20, 30, 40. And that'll give a bit more of a realistic and a bit more interesting score overall. So now we want to round the score to an int. So right now the score displays as a long decimal number, which can be hard to read and doesn't feel like a game, does it? So most games use whole numbers for score displays. So in this step, you'll use a new line of code, a Unity function that rounds a decimal number down to the nearest whole number. We'll also learn what an int is and why you'd use it instead of a float when displaying clean numbers. Okay, so if we go back into our script, and then if we go to the update column, we are just going to change this slightly. So we're going to rewrite this. So we want score to equals math f dot floor to int brackets the elapsed time times score multiplier. And then we click save. So think of an int as a whole number, 0, 1, 25. It doesn't store decimal places. The mathf floor to int takes a decimal float and returns the largest number less than or equal to that value. So for example, if it said 3.7, it would give us a 3. And this ensures the score only increases after a full second has passed, which is useful if, for example, you want the player to earn 1 point per second of survival. If we didn't add the floor in, a score like 3.7 would round up to 4, to giving credit before the full second has passed, for example. So hopefully we can test adjust. Let me make the face disappear again. Back into Unity, click play, and looking at the bottom left. And there you go. You can see that score going up is whole numbers rather than decimal points. Now that the score is being calculated correctly, it's time to display it on the screen. In Unity, you can create user interfaces using the UI Toolkit, which uses assets called UI documents written in UXML. This step walks you through creating a UI document and connecting it to your scene so you can start building a heads-up display HUD for the score. So we're going to right-click in the hierarchy window and we're going to select UI Toolkit UI document. Rename the game object to Game UI. In the project window at the bottom, right-click the assets folder, select Create Folder. And we're just going to call that simply UI. In the UI folder now, we're going to right-click, we're going to create UI Toolkit and UI document. And we'll call that UI layout. So now we want to link the asset to the scene's UI document. So we're going to select the game UI game object in the hierarchy window. We're going to select the source asset picker. So we've got source asset in the inspector window. We're going to open this up and then we're going to select the UI layout asset. So with the UI container set up in the scene, the next step is to design the actual interface that will display your score. So we're going to do that using the UI Builder window. It's a drag and drop editor for creating UI layouts visually. So in this step, you'll add a label, give it a clear name, and set some placeholder text. In the project window, double click the UI layout asset that you created just then. And that opens the UI Builder window, which contains a live viewport window, similar to the scene view or the library view. And we can actually move this round. So you can select the top of it to move it around like this. It is obviously separate. If you select the tab underneath it, what you can do is you can decide that you want it to be placed wherever you want. You can add it as an extra tab up here. You can add it down below, to the side. I'm going to pull it there, but you place it wherever you think is best. I am just going to drag it just so I can see a bit more of the inspector window. So now solely looking just in this UI builder, if you look to the left side, you're going to see library. If we scroll down, what we're looking for is label. So we're going to click and drag that into the UI Builder's hierarchy window. Then the UI Builder has its own inspector window, just to confuse things even more. And in the top right here, we are just going to give this a name. So call this score label. Now spelling's important here because we're going to use that name in the script to reference the label later on. So if we look below in the inspector window, we've got the attributes. We're going to go to text, which is obviously coming up default as label. I keep saying obviously, don't I? It's not obvious. So if we go to the text there, we are going to call this score, and we'll just put 0. Okay, good habit that I'm probably not saying or even doing enough is just making sure that we are saving as we go in, Control S or File Save. So this might be difficult to see, but back in the Unity editor, you can see the score 0 text appear in the top left corner. So if you look at yours, I don't know if you can see it on my screen. Let me see if I can make it bigger for you. Not really, but you can just about see it there. And again, we're going to fix that on the next part there, but it's very dark. So by default, UI elements added in the UI builder are small, plain, and they're usually tucked in the top upper left corner. So in this step, we're going to center the label horizontally and give it some visual breathing room using inline styles. Direct style settings applied to the individual UI elements. So hopefully you've still got the UI builder up. If you haven't, just remember you could go back to the projects window here and you can double click the UI layout and it will bring it back up. Make sure that we've got the score label selected. Now in the inspector window on the right hand side of the UI builder, we're going to expand inline styles. As you can see here. So we're going to go to position and open that up. We're going to set the top offset, let's say 20. Just to move it down slightly, it'll look better. Promise me, trust me. Again, you can test and adjust and change it to how you want. But we're just going to change the offset slightly down. And then if we scroll down and go to align, we are going to align self to center. And then now what we want to do is adjust the font and the text color. So if we go down to text, I'm going to select white for this, just so it comes up. You can see it's there. And then increase the size. Now you pick what you want. But I'll go with maybe 40. The top. Now again, have a little play around this, see what you prefer to do. It's your game at the end of the day. You know, do you want it to be bold, acrylic? Okay, you set it up to how you want. Again, good habit. Let's save that. Now that's done. Okay, so let's go back into our script. Now at the top where we had our variables, underneath rigid body 2D RB, we're just going to add a new variable. So we're going to call this public UI document. UI document. Now one thing to double check is at the top, you should be seeing using Unity Engine.UI elements. If for whatever reason you're not and it's not working, just add this extra line here that I've highlighted. Okay, let's save the script and go back into Unity. Okay, so back into Unity, we're going to select our player. And we're going to assign the UI document from the inspector window. So if we look in our inspector window, you've got the player controller script, and you'll see all our variables. And you'll see that variable we created, UI document, exists, but it's not linked to anything. So in our hierarchy, we're going to click and drag our game UI, and we're going to pull it into the UI document section. Again, you could search for it, as we've done previously, by clicking on the dot on the end. So now that step's been done, the script has access to the UI and is ready to find and modify the specific elements inside it. Now that the script can access the UI document in the scene, the next step is to find the score label inside it and update its text. So we're going to add a new variable. So back into our script. And then just under the one that we've just created, we are going to write private label, and we're going to have score text, let's call it. So now we've created the variable, we want it to appear at the very start. So we're going to add in the void start column. So just press enter under the first line. You can see it's already working out exactly what we need to do. So we need to write score text equals the UI document dot root visual element dot Q label score label. So add that line in. So the dot root visual element gives you access to top level container of the UI layout. The Q label, the score label, uses Unity's query system to find the first element of type label within the score label. I understand this is confusing, right? I'm doing my best to try and explain. Make sure the name exactly matches what you set in the UI builder. So we're going to move to the update section, and underneath where we put debug.log, we're going to enter a new line here. So we're going to cut score text dot text equals score, and then, oh, that's my fault, plus score. Okay, let's save that and go back into Unity. What we'll do is we will press play just to test that out, so you can see what that looks like. And there you go. You can see the score going up, so it's all working. I'm going to click stop. So hopefully now, finishing that tutorial, you've created a scoring system that tracks how long the player survives, and it displays the score on the screen using the UI toolkit. In the next tutorial, we're going to build a game over effect with particle explosions, and we're going to add a restart button to restart the game when the player is destroyed. Now, hopefully that's been different, a little bit of helpful. I've tried to do it a walkthrough and a talk through as I've been going on. I will put the final script on there. So again, you can look at that. Again, it makes sure everything is spelled correctly, the capital letters are in the right place, etc. That's the final script. You could pause that, make sure it all matches, but any issues, do drop me a comment down below. Again, I got my first subscriber on the last video, which was absolutely outstanding. I'd love to get more. I'd love to hear comments, love to hear what games you are making as well from this, and hopefully you're learning a little bit. Please don't be overwhelmed. It is difficult and it will take time and time and time again. Go. Cheers for watching, and I will catch you on the next tutorial.